What's going on, guys? Maverick Mark here, and I'm bringing you some more Division 2 content. So today we're going to talk mostly about patch 10.1, but with a heavy emphasis on loot. All right, loot has always been the elephant in the room, but we will get to more of that later. So today what we're looking at is patch 10.1. All right. It's an in-between patch, of course, between patch 10 and patch 11, and it's going to introduce a little bit, that little tiny bit more content, but is mostly about bug fixing and balancing. Like, we don't get that with every single patch because there's always something that seems to be, in need of that little bit of balancing that Massive just can't quite seem to nail down. All right, so we're getting a rifle ammo capacity increase. They're going to try to fix the loadout swapping you got these skills that go on cooldown. Looking at you, Reviver Hive, and like the Reviver Hive takes like 300 seconds per 300 seconds. All right, so what happens is you try to switch your loadout, and boom, it says, "Oh, skill on cooldown." Well, that is ridiculous considering sometimes the Reviver Hive gets used even though you could just be revived by a teammate, whatever. All right, so they're going to reduce the charge time from 240 seconds to 180 seconds, but we're only going to have one charge at 0. So no more people running around with basically skill tier 0 and having 4 charges. All right. So I don't really know what they're doing there. I just know that sounds really bad considering almost all the raids, you're going to have these just absolute weapon builds with very little armor. I don't know. They don't seem to know where to go with that. But anyway, the Foundry Bulwark set is, of course, getting its nerf. They want it to be more of a, we're just going to use shields again instead of having an armor bonus or armor regeneration bonus, that kind of thing. So right now, you get 3% armor regeneration, and they feel like that's too generous. I don't think anybody has ever called Massive too generous as far as anything goes, but that might just be a personal preference of mine, not necessarily something, not necessarily everybody has to believe. So now what they want to do is give you a 1% armor regeneration bonus, and increase your shield health by 50%, with the 3-piece bonus. So, I don't know. I mean, if you're like that, to me, I would have really liked to see a non-shield-based tank build, just to throw something out there. But it's whatever, guys. It really is just whatever. All right, we got Forge, the holster being buffed. Kinda, sorta, whatever you want to call it. Currently, the shield, increases your shield health by 10%. It will now be bumped up to 50%, which is basically like saying you're getting an additional skill tier just by equipping it. That's pretty cool. The Hive is getting some changes. Overall, it seems to be in a good spot. We're getting some hazard protection on the Booster Hive. And it's the little charges, the little hive drones that come out and float over to you. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but those things are slow as Christmas. Those are getting a complete overhaul, and we will be much faster. The big thing for PvP will be assault rifles are getting a 9% buff. That's going to be probably a mid-range absolute then, because there's not a lot you can do against the those high RPM SMGs at close range. Therefore, I think what they're trying to do is give us a counter to the SMG builds by giving us a stronger mid-range weapon. We'll see. Firestarter is being completely obliterated for PvP, it's getting a 50% decrease. The striker drone, though, is getting a 38% increase. I don't know what they're doing there. So now basically the drone in PvP can keep up with the turret, because that makes sense that you have a mobile turret and both a stationary turret doing about the same damage. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I feel like in a couple of months they're going to be like, oh my God, we can't believe the drone is so strong. What happened? It's whatever, guys. Let's see. So, loot changes. The bread and butter of patch 10.1. All right. So, how do we get started on that? So, we got to go to the start. We had a stat budget system that was basically crazy bad. It only allowed for essentially 2 gear sets to have good rolls on anything, so all anybody ever did was farm 2 gear sets, pulling those talents off and putting them on the gear sets that they actually needed or wanted to use. Well, they changed all that. They gave us Loot 2.0, and that was really terrible too. So with Loot 2.0, they gave us they nerfed the amount of rolls that we could get, and not only that, they nerfed the amount of loot that was that was dropping per mission, I guess, any activity. And on top of that, they kept purples. What the crap? Nobody wants purple loot, or rainbow loot is what it's so affectionately called. Nobody wants that. Granted, everybody wants God rolls. I get that, and I know they can't just hand out 100% God rolls at every turn. I get that. I totally get that. But we have not had a good loot iteration yet. Well, guys, we might slowly, very, very snail-like, crawling on our hands and knees through broken glass, be getting to that point. We might finally be there. We're not, but we're slowly inching towards that end goal of actually having good loot, which is a sad state of things considering this is a looter shooter. All right. So right now, rainbow loot everywhere, and patch 10 brought in these basically better rolls on gear, but it still meant that there was a high chance that the loot was bad. And it's like, well, what does that even mean? Well, in patch 10, they adjusted the drop chances so that there are fewer rolls at the minimum quality, yellow. You have better chances to get medium quality, but you also have a lower chance to get maxed out rolls. So, what in the crap? Why give us, in patch 10, why give us basically a larger amount of loot, but then you give us a larger amount of mediocre loot? What in the crap? So, while the average loot quality is much better, basically when you start thinking in terms of min-maxing, basically you have a much lower chance to get maxed out God rolls, much lower. And now we're at 10.1, and what they want to do is they want to skew the roll such that it will more likely roll higher than lower. Now, I don't exactly understand a lot of things with this game and the situations that we're getting put in. But that being said, this does not make any sense why this is even a problem. Like, who looked at it and said, all right, so we're going to give people, instead of people getting 10 drops per hour, they're now going to get 20 drops per hour. And out of those 20 drops, 18 are going to be completely middle of the road, mediocre drops that are not going to get above 50% of the max roll. Who thought that was a good system? Who sat down and put that down on paper and said, yeah, this will work. This is great. Who thought of this? We should promote them. Like, who did that? So now we're stuck here in a looter shooter that still has bad loot a year later. And on top of that, we've got Season 2 rewards. Most people already completed Season 2, and we're just sitting here waiting on the next content drop. And patch 10.1 just wants to give us a slightly better chance of getting a higher level roll than what was, normally possible. They're not getting rid of, rainbow loot, because purples are cool, guys. I don't know if you know that or not, but take it from this news guy, purples are cool. So I just don't know, guys. I mean, we have people that still to this day do not run heroic missions, even though the ability to get through them now is much faster, and we're much more powerful than what we were prior to 10.0. And there aren't just yellow bars running around storming you and two-shotting you in the face. That's not really going on much anymore in the heroics. Legendary, yes. Heroics, not so much. So, but you still have these people that won't play above hard mode or challenging just because they can get through, 15 minutes they can get through 2 hard modes, or in 20 minutes they can get through 2 challenge modes, and it still takes 15 to 20 minutes, even with decent gear, to get through a heroic. And legendary takes anywhere between 45 minutes to a couple of hours, depending on your team and how well they know things and can react to situations. All right, so that's, when you start getting into legendary, there's a skill curve that comes in. So I'm going to leave that out. Skill curve should be there. But being capped off on doing heroic content, all because, the loot just isn't dropping for you. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know how many times I've completed one of the raids, or both raids now, but I've yet to see an exotic drop. And I really feel like they need to turn around and look at exotic drops as, you need to have some ability of getting a, I'm not saying I need a god roll, because now we can just recalibrate to, our heart's content. But if you complete a raid 15 times, or, we need to have some sort of, I feel like the exotics need to be tied to a quest giver or a project or something that makes them a little more fair, so that people that have completed the raid 10 times aren't sitting there, or legendaries like me. I don't know how many times I've completed legendaries now, still not to get a bighorn. Meanwhile, people that have done 2, 3, 4 legendaries have gotten multiple. And when I hear talk like this, I'm kind of like, I'm taken back. Like it kind of makes me angry. And part of becoming angry is I want to quit playing the game, even though this is a game that I wholeheartedly endorse and love to play. But it's situations like that put me in a mindset that I'll just go play something else. And guys, that is never ever the right situation for a developer to put its players in. But guys, I hope this hit home for you. This is just something that's been on my mind for quite a while, and I really hope you'll hit that like button. And if you want that little extra content, that little extra news about the Division, please subscribe to my channel, because I will never, ever let you down. But anyway, guys, I'm out.